when he made himself available and was at the front line of every fight that we were involved in, but mainly the Right to Work initiative. He did a good job of coordinating with the state fed, notifying the council of happenings and activities that were taking place, and organizing. I had a national board meeting earlier in December, and I took the opportunity to thank the national and speak on Jim's behalf. He's done just a fantastic job. We're lucky to have him. So with that, Jim Harrison.
Good evening, brothers and sisters. I called Pat and told him I was going to be late because I found out there's a Vegas room down the hall here. And I figured I had a good excuse to stop by and spend some cash. I apologize. I had a meeting in Detroit, and I thought I was going to have enough time to shoot home and change, look halfway decent, but that meeting ran over, so I really apologize to you for not having my jacket on. I want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. Hope everybody had a safe holiday, great holiday, and I want to wish everybody as well a safe, prosperous, and good New Year, or good year for 2013. We got certainly our work cut out for us and a lot to do this year. Steve hit on a number of major points that we've got in front of us. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Right to Work. We've covered a lot of ground between the last time we had a chance to address you. A lot's happened in the past couple of months. But there are a couple of things I am going to hit on as far as some next steps, as far as the state goes, and as far as how the utility workers fit into that. There is, I don't know how many people recall, there was a coalition put together a couple of years ago. This is when we did the We Are One march in Washington. There's We Are the People. There was a Michigan table. Folks remember that? We Are the People. If anybody remembers that. We've got, that's kind of carried forward and has transposed itself into We Are Michigan. If you go to the state fed website, the Michigan AFL-CIO website, you'll see there's a picture that you can click on. It'll take you over to the We Are Michigan website. Now, what's the We Are Michigan? What we've decided to do, what Labor's decided to do, is that the issues surrounding what brought us Right to Work it's larger than just that. It's really a degradation of the rights that all citizens have had in the state. The kinds of things that we've enjoyed in this state, of being a state with great labor tradition in it, and has lifted up all working people. And since 2010, that has been eroded piece by piece. And so the issues that brought us Right to Work are simply not labor issues. They are citizens issues, working people issues. And when I say working people, I'm talking about working class people, because not everybody in Michigan has the ability to have a job. And so this coalition is geared to pointing out that there's been a tremendous damage done to transparency and democracy in the state. Remember, the governor had said that this is something that was too divisive, and in 36 hours went from saying that the Right to Work bill needed to be discussed in great detail to saying that Ready, Set, Go, as soon as it hits here, was signed. That's the right thing to do in 36 hours. So We Are Michigan is labor, community organizations, religious organizations, and the idea is to see what we can do to turn the tide in Michigan and have a much better outcome in 2014 than we did in 2010. Because this is a result of a lot of people staying home in 2010. You've heard this about elections having consequences, and this is elections having consequences. So midterm elections, what happens in midterm is normally the party at the GOP has more people turn out than Labor does. So we have to make sure that we do a lot of work between now and 14 to turn things around. Next, I think it's Monday afternoon, there's going to be a meeting. Matter of fact, it's here in Lansing, and kind of kick off the We Are Michigan, so we can get a handle on what kinds of things we're going to be doing, what the outreach to labor is going to be, what the outreach to the community is going to look like. And so you'll be getting information through the state council on what that looks like and what does it mean to you as local union leadership, how we all kind of work together and start influencing some more positive outcomes. So that's coming out. I do want to make a comment as well on Prop 2. And I want to say to you that I appreciate, your National Union appreciates, and I know the folks behind Prop 2 appreciate the fact that everybody works so hard. And I want to tell you personally, your leadership as well as you in this room worked very hard over the election cycle. We had some positives. We didn't get everywhere we needed to, particularly in the state races, but we had some good outcomes. And the fact that Prop 2 went down was an issue of a crowded ballot and not being able to really explain that and what it meant. However, I want to point this out to you, and which has been discussed internally within the issue of the labor community around Proposition 2 and the collective bargaining amendment. And right to work has been an issue that has been raised in Michigan since 2007. And as Steve pointed out, the Koch brothers, Dick DeVos, have been working diligently to make sure that they had the trifecta, the House, the Senate, Supreme Court, to be able to move this forward. There was a feeling within the labor community that if they didn't do something on a proactive manner, that this was coming in lame duck session regardless, whether or not they did something. So that's where Prop 2 came from. And the feeling was, if they didn't do anything, then a lot of people would be saying, what the heck did you guys do? You just sat there and you didn't try to do it, try to move things forward. So just put that in perspective. But around, the failings of Prop 2, a lot of it had to do with a very crowded ballot, as well as we all know. The 6 ballot initiatives, and most people are just saying, I don't understand half this, I'm going to just vote no on it. It may have been an entirely different situation had it been 1 or 2 ballot initiatives. To move forward with that. I'm going to change gears on you now. There was a brief article, I don't know how many people saw it, that was in the UWA's website, the e-news. Hopefully everybody in this room is getting the electronic newsletter. It comes out on Tuesday, about a recent NLRB decision on suspension of dues on expired agreement. Anybody see that? We get a chance? Okay. So what that means is the NLRB just recently ruled on this 50-year precedent from Bethlehem Steel. What has traditionally happened in the past 50 years is that when your contract expires, your employer can unilaterally suspend dues deduction. And arbitration normally expires, and dues deduction, they can suspend it. They don't have to, but they can under this Bethlehem Steel precedent. What the recess appointed board, and it's important to understand the recess appointed board, because I'm going to come back to that, recently ruled is that the employer cannot do that unilaterally and must bargain with the union if they're going to suspend dues on expired agreement. So that is extremely helpful for us because, if you've had an expired agreement, I have worked under an expired agreement before. I remember President Langford having to set up dues deduction through the credit union and everything else in order to do that. And a lot of times employers automatically do that to pressure you to come to their demands. So now they have to bargain. The second recent NLRB decision has to do with arbitrations and witnesses during arbitration or witness statements. Historically, what the rule has been is that there is no discovery for witness statements in an arbitration case as opposed to a civil proceeding. Therefore, the employer gets to see confidential witness statements or witness statements to build their case or to use it for discipline, and the union doesn't have access to that, and that was reversed by the recess-appointed board as well, which is good news. Now, recess-appointed board by the Obama administration, it has a lawsuit filed against them saying that it was illegal for them to do these recess appointments. So the question is, if that is successfully challenged in court, will these rulings stand? That's yet to be seen. However, we've got 2 good rulings in favor. One, of making it easy for unions to arbitrate cases, discipline cases, where witness statements are made and a member is terminated or disciplined, and you don't have access to that statement to prepare your case or for cross-examination, and then the second one on suspension of dues. The sorry about this. I'm going to go back to right to. There's one thing I want to point out, and this is part of the conversation on democracy and transparency. There's been some conversation in the past couple of years that I really think as unionists we ought to think about and figure out how we can move this forward. One is a working person's Bill of Rights. In other words, something that makes sense for working people that kind of reestablishes the democratic goals of this country. Secondly, right to work really should have a right to employment. For instance, the state of Montana makes it unlawful, basically does away with employment relationships where the employer can fire you for no cause. And that kind of thing is truly a right to work, a right to employment, right? If you don't have a labor contract and the employer then should be able to, instead of having an at-will employment, the employer should have some reason to terminate you from your job. Secondly, there's the same kind of discussion is beginning to take place around works programs. You know, there's a lot of discussion around the infrastructure, rebuilding infrastructure in this country. There was a stimulus money that came out of Washington, D.C. in 2009 under the first Obama administration. But during the Depression, people had the ability to have a job. We don't have that now. We have much more unemployment. 48% of the households in this country are getting some kind of public assistance. 48%. That's either food stamps, Medicaid, unemployment, 48%. And the way that the Roosevelt administration dealt with that, because that was before Social Security, that was before Medicaid, that was before unemployment insurance, they dealt with that with works programs. And we rebuilt this and modernized this country with works programs and put people back to work and built and regained that disparity in income, because that's what this is all about, is right, this disparity in income. Steve mentioned all those states that have a high standard of living. Being open for business, as Michigan now says, right, is different than increasing the standard of living. Income inequality is really what we ought to be focused on, because that's what this kind of stuff degrades. So I just want to throw that out there. There's some discussion that's beginning to take place around, you know, people that are thinking progressively about how we change this country and what kind of, and to you I say, well, how do we then have this dialogue within the state around what we need to do to turn things around. Last two things I have, there are some rulings that the EPA is going to be looking at, some rulemaking. You already know about, some of you already know, particularly if you work in a file, represent members in a fossil fuel plant, and that is on greenhouse gas. There's new rules come up for new plants and new construction, but there's also some discussion around having rules under the Clean Air Act that addresses current plants. So I know the National Union is going to be looking at that. There's also some rulemaking that's going to be coming out in June around power plant discharge, water discharge, and some rules on that. So we'll be taking a look at that and trying to figure out how that gets balanced in relation, making sure that that doesn't have a negative impact on jobs. Brothers and sisters, I'll be here rest of tonight and tomorrow, and it's great to have the opportunity to address you once again. I want to say good luck to the candidates as well, and it's great to see everybody. If you got any questions or anything that you need to talk